welcome to my second video. The first one was just a brief introduction to the bike. It wasn't brief at all, I talked for bloody ages to be honest with you, so well done for anyone who watched the whole thing. Just talked about the bike, and we took the bike off as well, the engine off the bike, which is now a lump in front of me down here. The idea with the bike is we don't know really what condition it's in at the minute. We don't know how good the engine is, and I don't really want to go tearing too much into the bike until I know exactly what condition the engine's in. It's a bit financial thing. I haven't got thousands and thousands of pounds to throw at this bike. The bike itself is only probably worth, you know, 2, 3, maybe a little bit more, but at the end of the day, I don't have that budget for it. So I'm going to do the best I can do to do it on a budget, but the main thing is the big lump that's on the floor is going to determine whether or not I actually do anything more to this bike or I kick it down the road basically. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to look inside the engine to see if there is any damage. When we took the engine off, we noticed there was some rust on around one of the spark plugs. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. And we're also going to look inside the engine without taking the head off. So a very good friend of mine, Jim Booth from Southside in Leicestershire, has lent me a video Borescope. So we're going to look inside the engine without actually having to take the head off. And if I can do, we're going to possibly try and do a bit of a pressure test today as well. Just to see if the engine is actually a compression test, to see if the engine actually has got good compression as well before we put it back on the bike, and actually see if we can turn a key and get it to fire, even if it's just under something like carb clean, something like that. So I have a little Silvertech compression test here today, and like I said, I've got this Sealy scope as well. So I think the first thing we'll do is take the top off, we'll take all the plugs out, and then we'll just start having a look inside it. So as I mentioned a minute ago, we took the engine off. We actually found rust in this cylinder. This is, I guess it's cylinder 1. Because this is the side that the kickstand is on, and this is the side that the chain's on, the drive chain's on as well. Water, when it sits on its side, water just pulls here and it's got nowhere to go apart from down this hole, which is into the first cylinder. So what we have done, there was water basically in the first cylinder. So just put that head down. So what we've done, because this has been sat for a week and Dan's very nicely keeping an eye on it, we have been trying to dry out that cylinder there. So it's looking like it's dry now, but there is rust in there. The others have just got a little bit of oil in them. But what we're going to do is we're going to take these out, and we're going to put a scope down through here so we can look at the top of the pistons. We're also going to go in through the headers as well, so we can actually have a look at the valves. There's a little mirror that's on the back of the scope, so we can see that. And also we're going to have a little look in through the port as well. So I'm going to take all these rubbers off the carb, and we're just going to have a look inside to see what state it's in. So this is the spark plug out of the, obviously the rusted side. Now, we can focus on that a little bit better. But it looks like the spark plug's done a damn good job of actually keeping all the moisture in there. I don't think it's actually been, water's been sat in there too long, but we're gonna have a look inside this one first of all, just to see if any of that rust actually has gone into the top of the piston. So this is the Borescope itself. It's a pretty cool little piece of kit, to be honest with you. It's fibre optic little camera with a light on the end of it, which feeds down to this little camera here. So it's apparently there's lots out there. I got this from a friend of mine who's a professional mechanic, and he's got a few of these kits, but he swears by this little Sealy one. It apparently just keeps going and going and going. So it's a little mirror for it as well, which goes on the end, so you can actually look back on yourself. So we'll be trying that with the valves in a minute as well. But yeah, that's the you see the camera there. So let's give it a whirl. So I'm just cranking the bottom end just to open up each one individually. So looking down through each of the spark plug holes to the top of the pistons, and then I'll be going through each of the ports again. So I'll open it right up, have a look inside, then check that, open it up, have a look inside, then check that, and I'll also be doing the other side as well, run the exhaust ports. So as you can see, we've got the probe in the first cylinder, and this is what we can see. So let me see if I can just pull that back slightly. So it's not a very good picture on the camera, but what we're looking at there seems to be a lot of deposits on top of the piston. That's the piston head. This will be again cylinder 1, so we've opened it right up, and these are the back of the intake valves. So let's try to move the wrong thing here. I'm trying to move the camera when I should be moving the. Trying to move the phone when I should be moving the camera. So it's a bit fiddly up to do this. I don't know how brain surgeons do this. So that is the back of the valve on the first cylinder. So not looking too bad. I can turn it up slightly. So just as we can see, shining a little light in there, there is a little rust on the back of those valves in there. We'll have to see what we can do about that. We might have to get some new valves, which means we're going to have to take the head off. So we'll see. So the Borescope has sort of really brought up nothing really hugely to worry about. Yeah, we've got a fair bit of carbon in there, but there's no rust, which was the thing I was worried about. The plugs have done a really good job of holding that water out. So the next thing we're going to do is do the compression test. So I'm going to do this as a 2-part. So that's end of part 1, and then in part 2 we'll do that compression test, and we'll see ultimately really what it is like inside that engine. So head over to part 2 and see how we get on.